So just remember that you've got correspondence here. So you've got the law practice, you've got the instructed attorney, and you've got the client. So the law practice is the one that's doing work for the client, but the law practice requires services of the instructed attorney. And the instructed attorney is going to be receiving a benefit in the form of a fee from the law practice because they had assisted with the client's work, the client's job. Right, that's just summarizing what's here in the flow of activities. Okay, general form of correspondent account statement. This is just what a correspondent account statement would look like. The textbook's actually quite good because they describe all of these line items. Okay, they're quite easy to identify. Remember, we're looking at whose records? Yes, okay, so accounting statement of McKefa attorneys. So they're the IA, instructed attorney, the correspondent, yes. And they're giving this to who? To the law practice. Yeah, to the instructing attorneys, exactly. Okay, law practice. Okay, and obviously the law practice is representing the client. Okay, just to show all the links, okay, in the chain. Right, so you've got 3 links in the chain. If you're looking at the statement, what is the statement showing you? It's showing you the law practice work that the instructed attorney had done on behalf of the client. Right, so this collection, what is this collection focusing on? Yes, it's looking at that, what we spoke about earlier in the example. They said here, maintenance money. See, Mr. Malloy receives a mandate from Mrs. K to act on her behalf in the registration of the trust and to collect the maintenance money. Right, so have they done their work? Yes, they have. Okay, because obviously the one was in Pretoria, the one was in Mbombela, so, 2 different places. Okay. Fees for receiving instruction. Fees for issuing summons, tracing fees paid, collection fees, sheriff fees. Those are all different fees, okay, costs, charges that were incurred in order to do this particular job. Right, there's an asterisk here that we need to highlight. 1/3 of the fees, brackets, allowance. That they describe here in the textbook. I just want to find it for you. The collection of fees. 10%. Yeah, we'll also look at that. That's also something. But the third is here. Yes, distribution of fees. That you can highlight. On this page 159, 1/3 there. The instructing attorney, Malloy attorneys, is not entitled to 1/3 of these expenses incurred on behalf of third parties are not fees charged. Oh, those are the fees not. It's only the fees, yes, that's levied by the instructed attorneys, correct. Okay, so only fees that the instructed attorney is levying would be the 1/3 of all the fees. Okay, so in other words, so if we go back to that picture there. Okay, do you agree there's going to be a fee? And the fee is going to be charged to who? The clients. Right? Okay, there's a fee that the client needs to pay, right? That fee, a portion of that fee, 1/3, is going to be given to the instructed attorney, and the remaining 2/3 will stay with the...
Other way around. 1/3 to the instructing attorney.
Did I get it the wrong way around?
Instructing attorney.
1/3 of all fees. Instructing, yes, okay.
And the person who does the lion's share of the work
Gets the money, 100%. Correct. 2/3 goes here because they do the work. 1/3 goes there. That's right. Okay.
It's not an account.
Yeah. Well, it would be a commission split basically. It's just industry, I guess. Is that consistent?
Yeah, it actually is, and also it's standard acceptable practice. If you refer a matter to someone else, that they give you almost as instructed
So it isn't negotiable, it cannot be
It is
changed.
negotiable.
Oh, it is negotiable.
It's negotiable. So there is an entitlement, but
So minimum a
Minimum,
third,
yeah.
but you could ask for more depending on the relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. But it would be strange for the instructed attorney to give up more of their share because they're the ones doing more of the work, unless they're depending on the instructing attorney for work.
Well, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, so it could be a win-win situation. So, yes. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so practically, there are a few things to consider. Okay, yeah, so we need to highlight both of these. The instructing attorney is not entitled to 1/3 of the advocate's fees, sheriff fees, and tracing fees. 100%. Okay, so only those fees that are levied by the instructing attorney. Instructing attorney entitled to 1/3 of all the fees, professional and collection. Okay. Let's just go back and look at the 10% here. The collection of fees. Yes. Okay, so the job requires a collection, and 10% of all the money collected by him or her, it's limited to 1,000 though. So if you're collecting a lot in terms of maintenance, you'd max out at 1,000. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, but that's not very good for the client. Yeah, but if I was the client, I would tell the attorney, why do you want to collect 10 times? Then that attorney has lost the trust then. Yeah, because that doesn't sound very good. Wow, interesting. And there's no ombudsman in that industry. I'm sure there has to be. Okay. Wow. Because I'm sure things like that could happen. And then the clients just have to what? Accept it, I guess. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Alright, so just to come back, so now we've looked at those two. The collection fees, that was what we spoke about. And we looked at the 1/3 of the share of the fees. That's it. Perfect. Okay. I just want to see if there's anything else that we needed to highlight here. Okay, money collect, that's fine. Expenses incurred, that's fine. Okay, just remember expenses relate to who? Well, remember, when looking at the business is going to have to pay like the sheriff, right? Yeah, so just be careful with that. The incurred expenses, see, they say here, remember, McKefer attorneys is what? The IA, the instructed attorneys. They incurred their own expenses when collecting money from Z. Tracing fees and sheriff fees. It can be assumed that these types of expenses were incurred before the money was collected. Right, do you agree if you're collecting money on behalf of the client, that would have been the client's expense, right? Because remember, the client uses the client money to pay for client expenses, right? Because the trust money is what belongs to the client. Okay, so just be careful with that as well, because they also talk about this. McKefer attorneys will therefore pay fees from its business bank account on behalf of Malloy attorneys, with the result that Malloy becomes an ordinary client regarding these expenses. If money is collected from Z or K on behalf of Malloy, McKefer, the instructed attorneys, will have to set off the client account and the trust account of Malloy against each other to determine the net amount of the trust check, right, or the EFT payable. Right, so when doing this particular job, you're offsetting the one lawyer's accounting statement with the other lawyer's accounting statement. Okay, because both of those statements need to almost like reconcile, if you will, because you're doing a job with the client, but you're requiring someone else to assist you. So obviously, if you're looking at a client account, the client account and the trust creditor account would be the same, because it's perspective, right? It's like debtor and creditor. Right, so you buy from a business, they're your creditor, But if you look at it from the business point of view, you're their debtor. So it's both. That's why you've got this client account and trust creditor. Because the client account is like the debtor, the trust creditor is like the liability. It's two halves of the same. It's like looking at the coin, but looking at it from a different side. That's all. Okay. Now, so just bear that in mind, because you'll see some figures do coincide in terms of being the same. Okay. All right, fees we spoke about. Obviously, professional fees can apply, collection fees, distribution fees, and that's it. Then they just spoke about the trust check or making an EFT to the instructing attorney. Right, who pays who? Well, the instructed attorney is the one collecting the money. They would have to pay over the collection to the law practice in order to give that back to the client. Okay. All right, so let's look at the example here. Recording of the accounting statement and records. Okay, that's fine. There, subsidiary journals. Trust cash receipts journal. This 750. Who received it? The instructed attorney. Okay, and that's the reason why you've got this here. Okay, trust creditors. Because do you agree Malloy is what? The law practice, the instructing attorneys. So if I draw the picture, see, I'm just trying to draw a picture here so it makes more sense, because it can get quite confusing when you're trying to think of all these people. Okay, the instructed attorney is paying over 750 to the instructing attorney. And what is the instructing attorney to the correspondent? A client, inverted commas, a trust creditor. That's why you've got trust creditor there. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Right, and that's why you've got this here. So this is recording what? The collection, all right, and the receipt of the money, the 750. Let's go back and show it. Yeah, it's that. There's it there. Okay, whose records? The instructed attorney. That 750 is going to be given to the instructing attorneys. That's why they're viewed as a, inverted commas, a client. Because you know, when you see trust creditors, inverted commas, client. It's not really a client, but it's kind of like a client because the instructed attorney is doing work for the instructing attorney. Makes sense? Perfect. Okay, then the next part is obviously the payment that we saw earlier. We spoke about those transfers. Okay, so there's a transfer here of 93 and the payment of collection. Okay, 657. There should be a working for that. Did they show the workings here? Let's see their workings. Yes, they did. Here's the 93. Here's the 93. As shown in the client's account of Malloy. Okay, so the 93 was the amount of the trust check to be deposited into the business's bank accounts. Okay, let's just go back and just see the other half of it. Okay, payment of the collection, that will be the difference. So this is actually quite an important amount that you'll have to work out, which is the transfer. Okay, the 750 was given in the question that we saw. Okay, remember, the one is the receipts and the one will be the payments. Okay, whose books are we looking at here? Still the instructed attorney, because they're looking at their trust creditors, which is their clients. Make sense? Okay, good. Right, this transfer of 93, who does that go to? It goes to the instructed attorney, because does that attorney get something? Yes, they do. Right, so when looking at the payment, it's a trust cash payments journal because let's show it. Right, so when the correspondent paid over the 750, this was split. It was split in two, 675 and 93. 93 is a transfer to the IA, instructing attorney's bank accounts. We'll look at it just now. Okay, let's first just get this understanding right. Okay, the 657 is the inverted commas payouts to the instructing attorney, the law practice, the LP. Okay, is that all right? Are we clear with that bit? Okay. Right, then let's look at the business cash receipts. Okay, that's not too bad. That's just what we just spoke about here. The transfer, that's straightforward. Let's look at this there. Business cash payments journal. Right, so this is looking at the business cash payments journal for who? The instructing attorney. Instructed attorney, yeah. Instructed AI. Okay. IA. So if I'm looking at IA, it's the instructed attorney. The instructed attorney is paying business expenses for the tracing fees and the sheriff fees, because that's what they would have needed to do in order to get the job done. Right, the fees journal is what we saw here in the account statement. Okay, because the account statement is given to the law practice. Okay, here. The sheriff fees we looked at, Okay, there's the other ones. Okay, fees for receiving instruction, fees for issuing summons, collection fees 75, and share of the fees 34. So those ones we need to just circle them. Okay. Right, so let's go back here. Right, so the 102 was, let's show the working, the 75 plus, what are the other amounts? 75 plus 11 plus 16. See that? Okay. 11 plus 16. Okay, 75 plus 11 plus 16 should give you 102. Good. Okay, then you've got, yes. Correct. 102 divided by 3. One oh three divided by 3 is 34. Okay. Yeah, it's a third. Right, and this is what you've got. Okay, so now do you agree, if I'm looking at the net amount is 68. Right, so now if I'm looking at the business cash payments journal and I'm looking at the fees journal, right, you can see you've got two records relating to the instructed attorney's accounting records. Okay, which gives you the 93. Right, so that's the transfer. The transfer is just that difference there. Well, not difference, total. Okay, because have a look at this. Debit the client's control account, debit the client's control account. So you're debiting the client control account. There we go. Okay, so the tough bit with this is trying to get your head around all the different parties, because there's the instructing attorney, there's the instructed attorney, then there's the client, and then you've still got these sheriffs and other fees and charges. So it can get quite a little bit mind-boggling and tricky, so just be careful. I think drawing pictures can help, so if you can try, or label it, like here I'm labeling, this is the instructed attorney's record. Okay, so that, at least it gives me context. So at least I know that this is the instructed attorney and they are going to be transferring. Right, so 93 is the 68 plus the 25. Okay, I see they've worked it out. Oh, they worked it out the same. Yeah, except they've minus 34, which gives you the... Yeah, I've done 68 plus 25. 68 plus 25 is also 93, it's the same. You get the same answer. Okay, so if you want to use that, that's fine. If you want to use this, that's also fine. You also get 93. Okay. Yeah, so the workings are everything. So the nice thing about that exam paper that we saw, they actually filled this in for you. That's a lot of help.
Yeah.
If they don't, then you would have to remember those steps, because the steps are important to transfer money from your business to the client or to the instructed attorney. Yes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is a really good example that follows through the whole process that we looked at in terms of the theory. Okay. Is that all right, guys?
Yeah.
Perfect.